Welcome to the Autumn 2026 Local Land Services Upper Hunter Paddock Report. My name's Maria Cameron and I'm a member of our Upper Hunter Ag Extension team. In this episode, we'll be discussing some resources and tools to help with decision making in the season ahead. Well, I thought I had my audience all lined up behind me, and then we got hit by some rain and wind that sent us all running for cover. And just as I was about to start talking about how dry it's been across our region, we missed our spring rain, and then it was dry through summer right into autumn. That's left us with very low soil moisture levels to drive our pasture systems coming into autumn winter. Many of us, like us, have been planning for that period. We've looked at our reserves of fodder on hand, we've cut back some of our stock numbers, and we've got some calves that were weaned just a bit earlier than usual off heifers that we've got on feed. We'll be looking at some resources, forecasts and tips to help us plan right through this period and take the stress out of decision making. Well, as you can see, it's take 3 on our locations. The weather has really thrown everything at us today. Now it's time to put some confidence building tips and tools into that decision making toolbox to manage a challenging autumn winter season as we move ahead. The best place to get started is the Managing Drought, Fire and Flood Guide that's put together by Local Land Services and the New South Wales Department of Primary Industries. It's a great resource. It's full of QR codes to take you direct to some great websites. There's lots of graphics. It's not all reading. And there's some really good information, some self-care advice for both yourself and your management team moving into the times ahead, as well as cattle feeding information, nutrition, all sorts of really useful links to the Rural Assistance Authority and other support that's available out there. Now, in here, you can start a bit of a checklist that will help take the stress out of those livestock management decisions, because our focus always needs to be on accessing the best available data. So to start with, as I mentioned before, look at yourself and your team, assess your mindset. Do you have the available time and labour? If you're looking at feeding livestock, for example, have a bit of a gauge on your cash flow reserves, what sort of stored fodder you have on hand in the shed, your pasture situation. Are you relying on native pastures, or will you get fodder crops in this year? Water and infrastructure and equipment, they're all really important, both for handling fodder, if you're going to have stock in a confinement feeding situation, how you set up, do you need any extra investment? And all of this, it isn't a static situation, so we're really encouraging people to assess, plan, monitor how they're going, how your team and how your stock is going, and then repeat. So, if you're looking through your livestock numbers, that's a regular thing. Livestock market data is really important, as is your financial information and your weather data. So that's where it's really good to get to know the weather sites you have available. And one of those is the New South Wales Department of Primary Industries seasonal update. It comes out monthly and it's a really good forecast. We've sort of moved beyond the old crystal ball and looking at the activity of the ants, as we all like to do. We really need to look at a prediction and estimate, as a forecast is, of the best available data. Get to know the models and the websites. You can also sign up for the seasonal conditions update. There's a great website. The link is in the guide. Just head on over there. You may be familiar with their information, the interactive drought maps. That's a live map that's updated regularly, daily at the moment. So for our Hunter region, there's one thing we do know, and that is that our autumn forecasts are reliably unreliable. That's not to say that there's anything wrong with our modelling, but this time of the year is very unpredictable, and that's something that they've measured over time. You've probably seen the isolated storm events we've had around the region. February and March have been below average rainfall. So many producers have been looking at this information and monitoring and adjusting their production systems. You can go on to the drought map and look at a bit of an overview of our Upper Hunter region and see that conditions are deteriorating, particularly west of Scone and Muswellbrook, across the Merriwell-Cassilis area. We've got, I think, upwards of 30% of the Hunter region in the drought-affected category at the moment, and that's predicted to increase over coming months. Also accessible on this site is the New South Wales drought forecast maps. They usually go 3 months ahead. This is the current forecast to May. So drought conditions are most likely going to expand across our Hunter region, as you can see on the map. There's an increased chance of below median rainfall, and most models are predicting this outcome for the Upper Hunter, which can be seen just with the red circle around the navy blue area there. Although at this time of the year, the accuracy for this type of forecast is only in the 40 to 60% range, so we need to take that into account. Now moving forward, our Australian government sites, the Bureau of Meteorology, have some really good long-range forecasts which we should take into account in our decision making. We can look at scenarios by location, which a lot of people don't realise. You can put your address in there. The links to these can be accessed from the DPIRD site or directly via BOM. I really like to play around with some of the percentages there, particularly if you're looking for the chance of 50 mils of rain to do some sowing across autumn. These often change. If you're looking at the current weather, the BOM Met-I site, which has the latest weather and forecasts, is another one that's really accurate for our local area. So get familiar with these sites. There's always discussions at our seasonal conditions events about all the different websites out there. And I really think, depending on the region you come from, there's nothing better than just regularly on a weekly basis looking at your on-ground conditions, comparing the forecast with what you're actually receiving in the rain gauge, and then you'll get to know yourself which one is the most trusted and accurate for your area. At a local level in the Hunter, one of the best places for up-to-date weather, soil moisture and pasture forecast information is our Farming Forecaster website. You can visit the website at farmingforecaster.com.au and add a handy link to your smartphone. This data is live and updated from our probes, which are located right across the Hunter region. In the Upper Hunter, as you'll see on the map, we have probes at Baramble, Merriwell, right down to Milbrodale, Martindale, in the northwest at Timor, out to Moonan and Rookel. So you're sure to be able to access a probe site near you. Pop on and explore the different pasture systems and the different property enterprises that we've got covered. You can check soil moisture levels, match your soil types at home and your pasture system to a site near you. This site is at Scone that we're looking at here. You can see soil moisture levels, which is basically the fuel in the tank below your pasture systems. Importantly, these sites are based in actively grazed pasture systems, so they're giving you really good on-ground data. And we ground truth this regularly with pasture sampling. The photo coming up of the Scone site was only taken a week ago when we were out there sending off some samples. You can see there just how much the soil moisture has dipped coming into the spring-summer period. And again, the impact is obviously because we're getting rainfall readings far below the average, which is the yellow on the column graph there, with the blue being the actual rain received at the Scone site. Now, most importantly, the pasture forecasts on this site is some information that we won't get from anywhere else. And they're all based on a grass grow model system that looks at the pasture at each site and what the enterprise is, what the stock that are being grazed there. And there's a black line on the graph for every site. This is the Scone site again that we're looking at. And I suppose we don't really need that graph to tell us we're probably in the bottom 25% of seasons at the moment. So the black line is difficult to see, but it's at the very bottom of that graphed table there. Now, importantly on this, we look at a 30-year average of pasture growth across the seasons. The shaded green area is the best years. The median is the yellow shaded area. And then when we get into the red, when we start tracking into that, we're in our worst 25% of years. Now you can turn off in the key there, you'll see you can click on and off the different predictors, but it gives us a really good idea on what might happen. Again, we're at the lowest level of our season at the moment. If we were suddenly to return to median rainfall, where those pasture levels might lift to. And, you know, if we were suddenly to get a really good change, what the best we could expect given the current pasture levels we're looking at the moment. So our pasture forecasts are another great indicator of how our pasture systems are tracking across the region. So just a reminder to all our land managers and livestock producers across the Hunter region, if you'd like some assistance and advice with managing and planning for the dry times ahead, reach out to your local land services, ag extension and animal health team. We're only a phone call away. Get a copy of the Managing Drought, Fire and Flood Guide at the nearest LLS office, or you can download them online. Keep an eye on our LLS events page for activities that we have coming up in the months ahead.